Here we are theoretically live. Close enough. Sound check. Anyone got a sound check for me? Alrighty, Gold Panner. Thank you. Put that down just a little bit. Better centered that way. Okay. So, unfortunately, I got the sniffles, and Eva's got a chest infection, probably from mine. Hey, Walt, how's it going? Rom, don't recognize your name. Douglas, hi. Gold Panner. Greg, hey. How's it going, Greg? Haven't seen you in a while. That was a great trip. That was some awesome scenery there. In good company, too. Thank you for inviting me there. Hey, Paul, how's it going? So I don't think we're going to have much of a tinfoil hat report tonight. And hello, David. Kodak. Forget your name. John, was it? Not sure. But anyhow, hey, Mr. Lodak. I called Chris's phone and didn't get through. So I'm not sure whether he'll be here or not. Yes. Okay, I got it right. John.
Hi, everybody.
And there's the goddess in the background. Strangely enough, I don't seem to have a notification. Anyhow, so
I am sick. It is his fault.
Probably. I've had a situation in the past where if I got a lot of dust in my nose, it would cause an irritation, which would then kind of get out of control, and I'd be sick for 3 or 4 days. And hey, John, how's it going? And Paul says hi, boss lady. And so last week, while I was grinding up stuff at the ranch, the wind was highly variable. Usually I can just count on the wind blowing it one direction. I can stay out of the dust, no problem. Hi, BC. And it didn't work that day, and I didn't put on a dust mask, which was foolish of me. And so I got irritated, and I got sick. And, of course, especially out there in the field where we're like this and that camper, she caught it. Sunday, she woke up feeling pretty poorly. Would you say you're about stable, or are you getting better yet, or are you getting worse? What?
I am somewhat stable as long as I don't cough.
Okay. Yeah, she does not like to cough right now.
If I talk, my throat wants me to cough.
Yeah. So anyhow, her lungs are not feeling real good right now. So anyhow, that's the situation in terms of the health. Minor Jim is on the net here watching it. So if you have questions for him, you can certainly ask them. I hope it's got good gold in it. No, Courage. We're not planning on doing that because we don't. The hospital here is not known for their excellence in treatment of COVID, and we don't want to give them any chance to get started.
I can still smell and taste. Ain't the COVID.
Yeah. We're not showing any of the real classic symptoms of COVID. I've had this before, decades ago. If it was COVID, I invented it. So anyhow, as you can see, it's been a pretty busy week. Got another batch out at the ranch cooking right now, and tomorrow I'll be headed out there, dump that batch, load up another one, and do some more jaw crushing, get the trailer offloaded, and get ready to go back out there this week. I need to get Need to get some more buckets emptied. We did get some assay results back. Now, I haven't gone over this yet. I'm going to, when I get back there this week, theoretically, I'm going to take a brush and kind of brush off the area that I've dug so you can see the mineralization. It's complex. It's not a real simple, oh, there's the vein, there's the wall rock. It's more like what they like to call a stringer vein. And Terry says, take a spoonful of honey for your cough. It works. Yeah, she's on a low-carb diet, so that's a problem. There's only so much she can take. I do have some cough syrup if she needs it. But again,
which is loaded with carbs.
Yeah. But a stringer vein is a mineralized structure that's, defined kind of like a vein, but where it has a whole bunch of smaller vein-like structures, veinlets and stuff, kind of interwoven in it. And this looks to be more like about a 2-foot wide stringer vein. Usually the term stringer vein would be used for something wider than that, but it looks like about a 2-foot wide stringer vein, and there's a variety of minerals. Now, I do have some samples. First of all, let's see if we can get that's not too bad. This is what you would typically think of as a good looking ore. It's, mostly limonite. It's not as dense as it looks, although it's got a reasonable density there. And that would typically run in this area, anywhere from half an ounce to maybe a couple ounces to the ton. Another thing we have is this, whoa, the camera sees different than the eyeball. What color would you say that is, little one?
Dark brown from here.
Yeah, almost black?
Yeah.
When you look at the camera, it does not look near black. It just looks brown.
It is the color of coffee.
Oh, no,
black coffee.
This is lighter than that in the camera. The camera is not giving you a good look at this, folks. Okay? This is actually almost black. It's so dark. And this is more typical of the pack rat formation, this dark, almost blue-black, sometimes grayish, shiny stuff. That is more that. Let's see what this looks like. See, even that looks a little brown. To my eye, this looks almost gray, charcoal gray. But anyhow, that might be an interesting way of finding iron. But anyhow, as you can see, very, very dissolved. And I think this is kind of a replacement vein, and that's kind of on the edges where it's dissolving out the dolomite and replacing it. And that's more the pack rat structure. Now, the perpendicular vein, on the other hand, is more this. And we're running into something. That material there kind of transitions through this. See, there's some finer grained, less vesicular. It doesn't have as much holes in it there. And let's see what this looks like at the camera. Again, it just looks brown. But in natural light, this area that I'm touching looks almost gray to me. Okay, gray and white. Now this, you might be able to tell from the very sharp edges, pretty hard. This is polycrystalline quartz. And I don't know if we can get it closer there. Yeah, you can kind of see the crystalline grains in here. And you can actually see the individual crystalline grains in that. This is some tough crap. Okay. Right here where my finger is, let's try and get the shading right. That's where the hilty bit was whacking at it a little bit. Now, mind you, that Hilti is a beast of a hammer. I've got a 35-pound Bosch jackhammer that doesn't hit much harder than that Hilti. This we have anywhere from little veinlets up to, there's one vein about this wide. And what was interesting about this was that neither Eva nor I could remember seeing any of this quartz in the dump. Yet when we first started digging the, opening up that middle decline, we were running into a fair amount of this. And we're like, where did it go? Is it just harder to see than, when you're digging it and you notice, damn, that's hard. But it piqued my thought. Perhaps this was highly valuable and therefore didn't wind up in the dump. So we assayed the this material here and just the general mineralized looking zone stuff. Took a bucket and just crushed it up and see what it was. And the generalized mineralized zone stuff was a little bit better than the waste dump outside. Okay. And that's, it's usable grade, nothing great. This actually got into what we would consider the high grade range. It's at the lower end. It's nothing bonanza grade or whatever. It's some pretty good stuff. And the negative is it is god awful tough. I think we're going to need to get a Sierra blaster. I have a chunk there. It's sticking out. It's about this big. Okay. And it's sticking out just where it's, likely to interfere with the ladder track as it's coming down. And so I have actually spent 15 or 20 minutes on that one little chunk, just trying to break it off with the Hilti, and it ain't moving. I'm going to resharpen the bit and stuff and see if that'll get me what I need. But I wish Eva had been up there Sunday morning. She was sick and everything, because I was trying to whack that thing out, and literally where the chisel is hitting the rock, it was a solid sheet of fire, just completely solid sparks as it's and just going crazy. It was really awesome looking. I'll see if I can get that when I'm up there again. But this stuff is tough. I mean, we're going to refer to this as kryptonite. But it's a polycrystalline quartz. It is high grade ore, although again, nothing bonanza grade. And we're probably going to stockpile it for now because my RC46 crusher doesn't like this. There's something called the pinch angle. When you have a jaw crusher and the jaws come together and it hits like this, if it doesn't grab the rock, it'll push it back up again. And so the rock will just be doing this and wearing out your jaw plates. And thank you, Terry. Yeah, I'm going to be doing some research on that. We'll probably be getting some, because this would be a perfect case. And I've got some decent sized chunks of this, because where it's naturally fractured, you can get up, you can bust out big chunks. And we'll test actually drilling it with a hammer drill. And what size hole is that, Terry? That was a 5/16 hole, wasn't it? But I'd like to see what the penetration rate is with a standard hammer drill. I've got a battery powered hammer drill. Okay, 5/16. Okay, we'll get a 5/16 bit and see what happens. The solution to crushing the tough rock, bigger, heavier crusher. We have a big jaw crusher out there. I mean, it's an industrial size crusher, like a 10/16 opening, but it's not set up right now. They run it some with a belt drive from a tractor power takeoff, but that's one thing we can do this winter is set it up with like an inline 6-cylinder engine and a belt drive or something like that. And because it's got a larger stroke and ridged jaws that come together kind of like this, tend to grab it better. And we'll see what happens. Now, another thing you can do on a small scale when you have stuff like this, put some dirt in there with it. Make sure you're not trying to crush just the plain rock, because the dirt will get in there and it'll help give it more friction and get the crunch going on it. Yeah, this is some hard stuff. If you can, pile enough stuff in there, it kind of pushes the rock down, and again, it works in the cracks. As the jaw comes back, it can drop in there, and as it gets crushed, it grips the rock so that the jaw can get a good smack on it. But yeah, this is some tough stuff. I've broken a lot of rock in my day, and this is about as tough as it gets. Very, very annoying. Also because Eva was sick, and really, okay, I'll try that, David. Sprinkle it with water. Okay, it's an interesting thought. My thought right now is it's a relatively small percentage of the whole, 5-10%, maybe 15%. And we'll just stockpile it for now till we get better crushing. And yeah, okay. Later on we can worry about that. Again, right now we're just worrying about, I want to get that decline timbered, retimbered, and yes, and the blasting helps put fractures in the rock too. It makes it softens it a bit, tenderizes it. They actually tried tenderizing beef that way. Put it in water and set off an explosion next to it. It actually works. Too expensive to be very useful though. But anyhow, I want to get the next timber set in the decline. And unfortunately, because of the ladder track, rung spacing, mount spacing, and such, the ideal spot to put the next timber set is exactly 4 feet down from the current timber set. The current timber set is set such that when I put the ladder track in, the head frame sits at a 60-degree angle with the vertical part vertical at the elevation outside. We started with that outside elevation, transposed it inside, measured down. That's why I put that first timber set where that timber set is. So the next timber set, 4 feet down, unfortunately, that is directly where the previous timber set, the last one on the thing, is. If you look carefully, I'm not sure on the video whether it was before or after, but I actually notched some of the posts there to allow me to slide the cap into them to put them where they want. And so it's going to be a real pain in the butt to get that out of there. And because I can't lose ground control while I'm doing it. And I also really don't want to spend a lot of money on more timber, because when I was getting the 4x6s for this, 8-foot pressure treated 4x6 was $45, and 4x6. So here I'm at Home Depot. Yeah, it's 4x6, 8-foot, just standard is $21. So that's the sort of thing that I would like to do, but I hate to spend another $50 or more on timber. I may have to do it because the posts may be a little longer than I can put together with what I've got. I mean, I got stuff that's basically 5 feet long, and I think that'll be close. And I could put blocks on top of them if I had to get me another 3.5 inches without too much trouble. More than that, it's starting to get pretty funky construction. But getting that new timber set in, while maintaining ground control, while digging out the rock, while working in a very confined area, is just not exactly the fastest, easiest thing in the world to do. However, I am pretty much to the point where I'm almost there now. I have enough room now to pull out that temporary piece, put in a permanent cross piece to hang on to. I'm thinking, a 4x6 or a 4x4, something like that, something really solid. I can screw down onto the tops of those posts and latch the top of my ladder track. I want a good solid anchor at the top so that, that's not going to fail. Yeah, David, they could go over there where Jim was at and sawmill me some stuff. But yeah, where I'm at, there are no fallen trees to speak of. But anyhow, it's a minor technical issue. But I say we almost ran out of buckets as it was. Eva wasn't down there to transfer them, so I couldn't fill the, 6 or 8 was all that I had left to fill. So it was a good time to call it a day, pack up all the tools. And what I was doing was I would send down a full bucket to the landing zone and then carry some tools down to the road, leave the tools, unhook the bucket, come back up, pull up the pulley, and do it again. And it worked out pretty well. I think I made one trip that basically I just sent down the bucket, walked down there, unhooked it, and came back up to the top. Everything else I was carrying tools down anyhow. Huh, that's an idea, Kodak. He says, look on Craigslist. They might have something there. Does lava rock contain many heavy minerals and stuff they use for landscaping? Depends on what you call lava rock. I mean, a good solid basalt will, just be a good tough rock. But there's a lot of vesicular basalts and rhyolites and such that are foamed, kind of like that, and those aren't very good for building materials. They're good for landscaping though. But anyhow, so that's basically what's going on there. I'd like to get that done this coming weekend. And then we'd actually be ready for production. It would be nice to have somebody else out there to, some brute. So I could send a bucket down, they could just unhook it. In terms of production speed, breaking the rock, loading the rock in buckets, shipping it to surface, and sending it down the high line, I think we could get 2 tons a shift without too much trouble. Okay. It's, it was going pretty smoothly. The main problem is just I'm working in such tight quarters that the breaking and loading the buckets part is really slow right now. Then once I get past that timber, then I can open up pretty good. We're coming down at a 60-degree angle. The previous was at a 55-degree angle, so you got a little bit of distance here, but also that when you go horizontally, it gets even more. So I started by taking a 2-foot slice. I should, by the time I get to the bottom of the timbering, have about a 3-foot slice of rock. When you throw in the 30-degree change in angle, 4 or 5 foot platform I'll be working on. And that'll make things a lot easier. And then, as I say, I think we should be able to reach a theoretical production with 2 people of about, 2 tons a day, which is more than our transport capacity. So it would no longer be a bottleneck there. As we go deeper, the sampling I did got better grades. So with any luck, I say the plan was not to be moving, hauling anything home until we got about 10 or 15 feet down. And this is too good to throw away. I mean, you've already got it broken. You've already got it loaded in buckets. It's already at the high line. When it comes up the shaft, it's right there at the head of the high line. All you got to do is run it down the high line, put it in the quad, and take it down the hill. Throw it on a trailer. Yeah, at that point, just take it home. The quad, we got a rack on the back. They usually have these flat decks on them. Well, this rack goes behind the flat deck on back and can either be sitting higher, or in this case, it's flush with a hole, and it's a trough where you can easily put 3 buckets at once. Now, I will recommend that if you're putting 3 buckets of rock on the rear rack in a quad, that you be aware your steering sucks, because there's no weight on the front tires anymore. So be careful. It's fine going downhill, fairly straight and stuff, but if you're trying to, turn tightly, good luck. It's a bit of a pain, but it's going. It will, David. It will wheelie pretty easy, but no, it's the system seems appropriate for 1 to 2 tons per day of production total, ore and waste combined. How much ore depends on what you run into. And so far, grade seems pretty good here. We got let's see, zone about that wide. What is that, about 18, 20 inches wide that I'm just taking? And so that's pretty good. Now, the other interesting thing this week was, of course, I'm running parallel things, one at the ranch and one at the mine. And at the ranch, of course, the question is the leaching and the resin extraction, etc. Last report I had for y'all was we did our preliminary resin extraction, 16 gallons per hour, using 4 cartridges with either, 350, 340, something like that, or 400 grams per cartridge. I wrote it on there. I'll figure it out. But, and the first cartridge was just grabbing 97% of the gold. I did, I don't know, say 15 gallons, 20 gallons of solution at that rate for that test before I terminated the test, ran out of time. Cool. Thank you, Roberts. But the question was, first of all, how fast can I run? I was doing 16 gallons an hour on the assumption that that would be sufficient to handle all the solution that I was planning to do with that mill setup easily if we were pumping 24/7. Now, that would have given me about 1.5 times capacity. Since it did such a fantastic job at that pumping rate, then of course the question is, well, what happens if we open it wide open? considering the pump I have, which is a 3/4 ounce submersible pump, not sure what the horsepower is on that. It's basically garden hose out, and probably 1/3 or 1/2 horsepower, maybe 3/4, but I don't think so. And open the throttle valve wide open on the filter assemblies, what would happen? Well, I went out there and I did that, and I ran all the rest of my pregnant solution, which was about 160 gallons, is what I had in the tank. And I ran it through the resin system. And I took samples at the end of stage 1, 2, and 3 at the beginning. And then at the end, I took a sample at the end of stage 1 to see, in theory, as that primary cartridge gets loaded, the output is going to go up in concentration too. And in fact, that is what happened. However, at the beginning of the test let's see, 106 divided by 16, at almost 7 times the flow rate, the first cartridge was getting right around 90% recovery into that first cartridge. And that's pretty good. I agree, heat should speed the chemistry, Kodak. Right now, it's not that important a deal. We'll see what happens in the future, but that's not a bottleneck, so I'm not worried about it at the moment. And it's going to get so cold that without actually babysitting the mill, I just need to shut it down sometime soon here. So we'll be doing a lot of interesting stuff this winter inside. But anyhow, so at the beginning of the test, we were getting about 90% recovery at 7 times the speed. But even more importantly, at the end of the test, after loading the resin to an estimated about 3/4 ounces per pound of resin, it was still recovering 85% of the gold going through it. Now, that lends me to believe that it's going to, it's still got a ways to go before it gets maximum loading. And that is good. The more we can load on the resin, the less we have to do per ounce to get it off the resin or to smelt the resin or whatever. I called the guy, resin supplier, today to try and, I was supposed to get some instructions on how to basically ash the resin and recover it that way. And I hadn't got it, so I called him up, and he's, again, going to send me that stuff. So let me see real quick if it showed up. And we could maybe go over it here. Yes, there it is. Let's see. Rinse the resin with water, then dry the resin overnight at 100 degrees centigrade. Then burn for 4 hours at 1000 degrees centigrade. The ash yield is 3 to 6% of the weight of the sorbent fire feed for burning. Gases such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and methane are produced from the burning resin. Nitrogen oxides are formed when the resin is burned in an oxidizing atmosphere. These gases require attention before being vented to the atmosphere. Not a very specific instruction set. I'll have to work on that. But anyhow, I say, sometimes trying to find somebody who'll give you simple formulas is easier than other times. And so working on that, it should also be relatively easy to strip, but then we still would have to electroplate it and then still have to fire it, so it gets complicated. Prefer if we can just go to a straight firing, but I should have plenty of resin to play around with this winter to see what works. And by doing little, 1 gram samples in that little furnace, should be able to play around until we get something that seems to work reasonably well. And I got time to do some more research and such, talk to other suppliers, etc. But resin has not gotten near saturation yet, as far as I can see. Another thing that Chris and I are going to be working on this winter is some kind of a inexpensive, quick and easy test to check the solution to get a rough idea of the presence of gold. For example, in this setup where I've got multiple canisters of resin, if the first canister of resin reaches a certain loading point, and then all of a sudden, it's, or fairly soon, you've seen the graph, I go like this, all of a sudden you're going to see that gold concentration in the exit, the tailings from that go up. You go, okay, that's loaded. That's all you need to know to make the decision. Okay, now we got to pull that canister out, advance everything, put a fresh one in at the back. That's not a very difficult analytical task in theory. The problem is with this particular solution is it doesn't like to let the gold go. It keeps dissolving it. So as you try and precipitate it, it just keeps dissolving it. There's some relatively simple ways that ought to fix that. Decades ago, this would be in the 80s, 1980s, yeah. I had a test where I used basically a dilute aqua regia, about 1/3 strength, to dissolve the sample. And then using something that the laboratories use, if you take that aqua regia and you take, say, 5 milliliters of it and then 5 milliliters of something called methyl isobutyl ketone and shake it up, all the gold goes into the MIBK. If you do 2.5 milliliters of MIBK over 5 milliliters, you now get a 2-to-1 concentration. The gold chloride complex would not react with the test paper that I was using from the MIBK, so then I had to evaporate that. It volatilized like gasoline. I'd put it on top of some more very dilute aqua regia, about 10-to-1 as I recall, evaporate the MIBK. Now I had the gold chloride complex in a solution that would react well with the let's see, where did I put that? I think it's in the other room. If you hold me just a second, I'll go get the stuff and show you. But that would allow me to do a very, very simple and precise, well, not precise, but sensitive test. Yeah, there they are. And see, once I had the gold in a chemical environment that I could get it to react with the paper, then what I did was I take one of these capillary tubes. Now these are just thin glass tubes, okay? And when you stick it in solution, it'll just literally suck the solution up inside there. And you have a test paper, and I hope this stuff will work. I couldn't find the Kodak paper I used to get, but this serves the same purpose. And it's designed to test the silver concentration in photographic fixer bath, so that once it's, loaded with silver, will you can't use it anymore, it won't dissolve anymore, so you have to know that. Will Stannis solution work with Goldex? Doesn't appear to so far. We've tried. We may have to essentially destroy the Goldex chemically, and then the Stannis may work. I'm thinking one way we may destroy the Goldex is by taking concentrated aqua regia and mixing it with the solution, which will break down a lot of stuff. It may create some unpleasant chemicals, gases that we need to carefully consider. And it may simply be, well, you don't use small samples and well ventilate it. But, and Chris is going, you might make phosgene. It's like, that's interesting. But anyhow, so what you do is I took little glass squares, easy enough to make. Just take a pan of glass, cut it up into squares. Take a piece of paper, put it on the glass square. Take a capillary tube full of solution, little alligator clip on a little pivoting arm, and then stand it on the paper. Now what happens is all the solution in this tube, about 2 inches tall of it, goes through one spot on the test paper, which dramatically increases the concentration on that one spot. So I was able to detect gold routinely down to 1/100th of an ounce per ton.
Question.
What?
You said the paper was designed to detect silver, so why is it detecting gold?
Chemistry's similar enough, it worked. I don't know the details. I'm not sure what's in this stuff. Might be stannous chloride for all I know. That's a possibility, Kodak, but in a large volume, I mean, like if you're trying to extract it from solution, to neutralize the Eco Goldex is very costly and wasteful compared to putting it in the resin first. But for a test, yeah, might put nitric in there, might put hydrochloric. One nice thing about using hydrochloric is that it's not going to redissolve the gold once you precipitate it like on this. But as you can see, there's lots of possibilities here that we're trying to play with. Again, this is a great thing for wintertime when you're already stuck indoors. And so this is one of our big pushes this winter is going to be to come up with a test that we can use for process control. It doesn't have to be super precise. It doesn't have to give us, numbers down to 2 decimal places or anything. And the main thing is what you want, what military would call actionable intelligence. Does it tell you enough that you can make a decision? And in this case, the decision is it time to change the resin cartridges? That sort of thing. In theory, you could potentially use it as an assay technique too. Again, I was using this as an assay technique without the Eco Goldex. I was just directly dissolving it with aqua regia, and it doesn't take long, and doesn't take much. I was using little film canisters as my reaction chamber, and to evaporate the MIBK over thing, I just use lids of those plastic film canisters and put like 1 cc of the test solution and 1 cc of MIBK let the MIBK evaporate. Now I've got the solution I can test. That's simple. Yeah, I say for small amounts, there should be lots of ways of doing it. We'll try the simplest, safest things first and then go from there. For example, I believe the guy at the lab who uses the induction coupled plasma, I know he reacts it with some acid first. Not sure why. I'm not that familiar with ICP, but I know he said that he had to acidify it in order to test it. And so I will, of course, ask him some questions, but by getting some kind of actionable intelligence in a real-time basis. I mean, this test here, if we didn't use the MIBK, you're probably looking at less than 5 minutes. If you're doing the MIBK, you're looking at about 15 minutes. Now, one nice thing about the MIBK is it's very selective in its absorption of the gold. You can use it to absorb the gold and then rinse it with water or acid and wash other stuff away from it. So you get pretty much just the gold left in it. So if there's interferences and stuff, that's one thing that you can do. But these are the sort of things that we'll be testing this winter. And I'm pretty confident by springtime, we will have a useful test for gold in the EcoGold-X. And assuming that this paper does what the other paper does, I already know I've got one that'll work as an assay. Okay. I did it for a long time. The negative to it was that there was some kind of interference that was impossible for me to figure out what was causing it at the time. But it would knock off the concentration by a factor of 10. You'd have to, throw an extra decimal point on there. If it was 1/10 of an ounce, you'd read 1/100th of an ounce without being able to tell what that was, and thereby say, okay, in this case, this is what you got to throw in there. It made it very difficult to use as an exploration tool. However, if you know what your ore does, it's very easy for a process control tool. And I'm pretty confident we'll have something come springtime that we can use for that. Before the end of this fall, within the next month or so, because it's going to get below freezing here pretty quick and stay there. I expect to have a good idea on what's the loading factor of this particular resin. Then over the winter, I've got at least 2 more resins the guy sent me that I need to test on bottle rolls. I currently have almost 20 gallons of pregnant solution, pretty clear, that I can use just for testing. I'll have to put it somewhere where it won't freeze, not a huge problem. And I'm going to get 5 gallons of barren solution that I can do testing too, so that I can test, here's pregnant, here's barren, does this spot test work on that or whatever. And then we'll have a nice system where you can take your ore, and after running a few tests to characterize it stuff, and it leaches with the EcoGold-X, we can run it, keep an eye on what's going on. In a gravity concentration, I use my gold panning all the time. I mean, I'll be doing it every 5 minutes. Test another panful. And it's extraordinarily helpful to be able to see in real time exactly what's going on. It really is. So we're going to be working on that this winter, and pretty confident we'll have some interesting answers along the way for everybody. We may be buying some EcoGold-X in bulk that we might have enough to sell to some other people. We shall see. Hey, blind dude. And so that could come in helpful. The freight rates from Ontario have been rather shocking.
Not going to get better.
Yeah, and I mean, when we ordered $300 worth of Eco Gold X, there was an additional $200 freight. That's pretty pricey for freight. So I say that's another possibility we're working on. My impact mill is having some wear issues, so I'll either have to kind of rebuild it or build a new mill. If we're going to increase the throughputs substantially, we have a Stutenroth mill. The problem with it is that there's no classification, so we'd have to set up a classification circuit. Goldstream says Canadian shipping rates are nuts. From my experience, Goldstream is right. The other problem we may run into, if we're trying to process this stuff, it's not very porous. This stuff is. The assumption would be this is going to have to be ground finer than this to get the same kind of recovery rates. Also, this is going to put a lot more wear on the impact mill than this is. Guaranteed. I say this is unpleasant stuff to work with, but it's definitely worth it. We'll just kind of wait until we're more set up for it. We got plenty of this stuff to deal with right now. And I'm guessing by spring we'll have, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 tons of it stockpiled because of what we're doing, just opening up the decline. And by the way, the kind of wall rock outside of that mineralized zone, that's just going to the dump over there. I'm mining out, basically trenching the mineralized zone first, then peeling the wall rock and throwing it on the dump and like that. But system looks pretty good in terms of doing what I anticipate. If the mill is only able to process 1,000 pounds a day and you can mine 2,000 to 4,000 pounds a day, mill's not, the mine's not the bottleneck. With the Stutenroth impact mill, the crushing and grinding would no longer be the bottleneck. Even like a Jimmy size mill, the 8-inch wide mill that I built for Jimmy, that was running 200 pounds an hour. Put in a separate agitation tank, and now you can get about a ton a day that way. Yeah, I'm my wear plates. I hard face along the edges, and I noticed that the wear plates on the rotor are getting thin. They started, a quarter of an inch thick, and now they're getting less than 3/16. And that's along the face, and then there's still a bead of hard facing along the edge. But I want to test, for example, what happens if you use AR plate or a T1 plate, something like that. The problem is it's really expensive to buy a chunk, especially nowadays. Now, I might be able to have Tommy in Tucson go down to Industrial Metal Supply and buy me a Target plate. They make AR 500. They have different sizes. I mean, you can just walk in there and buy a square foot, no problem. So if that was plasma cut, it wouldn't be any different than plasma cutting mild steel, which is what I'm using right now. And that would give us an interesting check. By the way, do you remember, Jim, was that the mill we built for Jimmy, was that mild steel or T1? I think it was mild steel.
It was T1.
It was T1? Okay. Yeah. It was T1. Okay. So, because we bought a whole sheet of steel. And again, if I can just find a small piece of something like that up here, and I may be able to get some. There's a steel supplier in Great Falls that has a truck comes down here once or twice a week. Might be able to get a scrap down here and see. It would be nice, not hard facing. Yeah, Jim agrees, T1. And it would be nice to not have to do the hard facing. That would be good. If you could just, like plasma cut 3/8 plate for the wear plates, and then just run it until it gets raggedy, flip it around, run it till it gets raggedy again, throw it out, put a new one on. That would be labor-wise much more efficient. I understand what you're saying, Kodak. We also have to keep it reasonably well balanced. Not a problem when you're welding, because once you're done, you weigh all the plates and then just add a little bead to wherever you need to. But again, the plate itself is not that expensive. And if you're getting it plasma cut in quantity, where you're getting a lot of pieces, that's not terribly expensive. The actual changing out of a plate, the whole thing takes 10, 15 minutes to change all the plates in it, or to rotate them. Very short period of time. So if it'll wear well, then avoiding all that extra effort and assuring that everything's the same weight, from the get-go, saves a lot of hassle. And we'll just have to see what the trade-off is when you have something that, for example, a hardened plate costs more over here, whereas the unhardened plate is cheaper over there, but then you got to hard face it, and this, I got this labor and the hard facing costs and the balancing costs, and then the other one you don't have to. There's a number of trade-offs involved there, and I'm not sure how the numbers are going to crunch. I know in terms of the hassle factor, how it balances out. Definitely would be nice to just have hardened plate that will last, as if you can do that to last a ton before you have to swap and just flip them around, that wouldn't be a problem at all. So we'll see exactly what happens, but it's my guess that in the long run, plasma cut hardened plate will probably be the way to go, unless you got really abrasive stuff like this, in which case you still want the hardened plate, but throw some hard facing on the edge too. The edges in that impact mill, it's the very edges that take the vast majority of the wear. So it's easy to put the hard facing where it needs to be. You don't have to cover areas. You just hard face an edge. Done deal. And then where it wears out, you re-hard face it. Again, more stuff for this winter. We may be building another mill. I may be working more on the classification system for the Stutenroth. Do not know. Maybe working on the big jaw crusher. Got a lot of possibilities indeed. So we'll go from there. But we got lots to do, and what would you say it took us to build that mill, Jim? About 3 shifts complete, seems to me. Wasn't that much. if you were all set up for it to begin with, it wouldn't be that hard. And that worked pretty well, but definitely need a heavier shaft, bigger bearings. The new design's 1.25 inches. So that's basically what we're looking at doing. Do we have any questions out there, folks? While we're I'm rambling on here. Yeah, he did, and he's learning how much fun editing is when you have a abundance of video. Yeah, see, Miner Jim, 20 hours. You know, it's not that difficult when you're building them from scratch. And to give you an idea, Jim, that last video I did, the editing was maybe 20 minutes, and then compiling and stuff. But so that gives you an idea of what when you're thinking carefully of what you take video and kind of arrange it so you can get what you need. And of course, what you were doing was going all over hill and dale and such, whereas I was focused on one thing. But that just gives you an idea how you can focus your editing down a bit and make it a lot easier. It was well worth it. I say, because not only did we get a good video for folks, but you learned a lot about how a lot of the video editing is in how you take the video. It makes it a lot easier, a lot more difficult. And the only way you really get that knowledge is by doing it. And then you'll go, yep, that's what I want to do. And the other thing is you don't worry so much about sequencing because you've got the capability of rearranging it. For example, that last video I did with the head frame and the carriage and stuff, the part where it was coming up out of the ground with the buckets in it, that was shot after I retrieved the rope that one time and then sequenced the more natural way, because where Eva was and things like that, it just made it a lot easier to take the shots. But you learn to not get locked into, you take the shots in the sequence, they're going to show up in the video. You don't have to do that. Another thing that is very helpful for all you guys out there that are thinking of doing videos, and the person who does this the most extreme that I've seen is Juan Brown on Blanco Lirio channel. You always see him, he'll be pausing. I'll be sitting there doing this, and then and the reason is he's putting breaks in there where he can slice and dice and rearrange. That's what he's doing. And it's important. I'm still kind of poor at it, to just put pauses in there. And also, if you're taking a shot and it goes bad, just pause, redo it. You don't need to start a new clip or anything like that. If you do that, you wind up with a lot of clips. That makes it kind of hard to figure out. So from editing purposes, as far as I'm concerned, I'm kind of simple-minded. As few clips as possible that you have to juggle. And again, if you screw up, you're doing something and your mouth stumbles over things, just pause, go back to a reasonable spot, start it again, edit it out, piece of cake. Anyhow, any questions out there? Anyone got anything interesting going on? Say, we are not going to have a tinfoil hat report tonight because Eva's throat is just not up to it.
Because Bear got me sick.
Yes, because Bear got you sick. Absolutely. Well, maybe you should find someone else besides Bear. Yeah, I say, Jim, that's how you learn, by making mistakes.
Oh.
very often by the time I get it figured out how to do this properly, the job's done. Now I can do it well. Isn't I bet you that I'm not the only person like that. It's by the time I get to the end of the job, I'm good at doing the job. Yeah. Yeah, Patrick says, there, bad bear. Nobody does bad bear like Eva. She's very
bad bear. Bad bear.
It sounds almost like a sheep.
You haven't even said bless you.
David just said, God bless Eva. Yeah.
Thank you.
But anyhow, so that's how you can see what's going on and why I've been so darn busy. And it's fun. I just wish we weren't racing the damn winter. And when we were out there, I'm not sure how cold it was. Oh no, she's got comebacks in her. That Sunday morning out there, I'm guessing it was in the lower 20s when I got to work up on the hill that morning. It was kind of cold. Luckily, it wasn't very breezy, but the temperature was unpleasantly cold. Yeah, I understand, Jeff, but I mean, I got a lot of work to do this winter. It's not a bad thing to have some downtime where you're forced to do all the little stuff that you've been putting off until you can get to it. Let's see. Let me make a little note here. But yeah, we'll. I've got at least a month or two of work without a problem, and say get that spot test done. And oh, Jeff, starting your garden down there. Well, I'm from Southern Arizona. I know. David says 2 more, Eva. God bless yous.
Arizona sucks rocks. This is confirmed.
See, she's still got her facilities here. But say that's basically what we're looking at. No questions, anybody? Goodness. Yeah, Jeff wishes you get better. Patrick's got laughy faces there. Yeah, John. Migrating seasonally generally makes plenty of sense. In this particular case, again, first, A, I've got plenty of stuff to do this winter. B, I'm not, as you all know, I'm not comfortable that the situation is going to be stable for very long.
The tinfoil hat goddess will not authorize temporary travel visas.
Courage Dog, it's probably going to be in about a month or so. It depends on when life freezes up here, because I've got other stuff to do as long as I can. Working on the decline, processing more ore. I mean, at 500 pounds a batch, I'm only going to get like a ton a week while the weather's still good. And that's assuming the mill holds up without me having to do any more major repairs to it and things like that. But yeah, it's one of those deals where I got other stuff that's much higher priority first, so I'll have plenty to do. And don't know Pat if he's going to be making. I'm sure he will sometime. Not sure what he's planning right now. Again, the season's closing in. He's been trying to perforate an elk the last, was it 2 weekends now? And so far, the elk have remained steadfastly out of sight. I won't even say out of range. I don't even think he's seen any yet. They've been kind of sneaky this year. But that's our evil plan. And yes, I want to get some gold too, but the more I leach and the more resin I load now, the more gold I can make over the winter. So that's where I'm looking at right now. And I'm not sure how to ash that resin the best, because I don't have any detailed instructions yet. The instructions he gave me were, well, that's kind of cool, but Ned down in Australia says that one of the things they've run into problems in some of the stuff he's read is volatilization of the gold. As you heat it to ash the resin, you actually drive the gold off as a vapor because it's so finely divided. Oh, he may have some more video for us this week if the weather holds. Weather looks pretty good, Jim. The 10-day, it doesn't get down significantly below freezing for another 10 days. Last I checked, it was at the 10-day mark. Let's see. Another Helena. Yes. 10-day. What do we got here? Okay. 10-day weather forecast. Low temperature 32, 34, 38, 33, 33, 38, 34, 32, 30. Those are all operational. And 32, 31. Yeah, those are all operational temperatures where I can keep running that mill. So I say I'll be working like crazy on that to try and recover as much gold as possible. And and then we're going to be more into lab work and stuff like that. But I got plenty to keep me busy. Oh, and by the way, for all those who think I'm not properly taking care of, guess who did the grocery shopping and the laundry and got our ballots into the voting people today? Guess who did all that without even being asked? That's right, the bear. Yeah, I don't feel guilty because I knew, when you're a couple, pretty much one person gets it, everybody gets it. That's just the way it is. And so not much. I didn't kiss her or anything like that, but there's only so much you can do. And so that's it. Patrick goes, suck, bears, suck. And no, we got to vote out some people. You can't not vote, or else you're going to get bad government. Yeah, Goldstream, the smartphones have some pretty good cameras in them. Eva can take good pictures and stuff, although we haven't tried taking video and then downloading it on the computer or anything yet. I know there was something she was doing that. What was it that was so difficult to do that you had to email it? It was just photographs, wasn't it?
It's working with one particular reward app I have.
Okay.
That you're supposed to be able to directly upload a photo to the app. It almost never works.
Yeah. Well, Terry, there's been times in the past where she has put forth exceptional loyalty to me, and I believe in reciprocation. So, that's all it is. But I just hope this weather stays relatively mild for another, month or so. That would be great, because then I could get 2 or 3 ounces in resin, and at that point, then I'd have some interesting stuff to play with this winter. So that's about it when it comes to that. Chris isn't here tonight. I don't know. Let me see. I tried calling earlier. Hope he's okay. Oh.
He's probably doing rocket surgeon stuff.
I don't know. He might be building an ark or something. You know how it is over there in California. They aren't burning up, you're washing away. Or being shaken. That's earthquake season, yeah. Let's see if the Chris is there. Got his voicemail. Hey, Chris. Just Monday evening, just trying to get a hold of you, see if you were available and just not been alerted or whatever. Take care. Bye-bye. So, is there anything else anyone would like us to try and figure out? I think we got a pretty good plan on trying to figure out everything we need for a smoothly running operation, at least with Montana Bee. And as you'll notice, all of these components, systems, and information is readily transferable to another location that's suitable. Like that ladder track does pretty well. It could go all the way vertical. I just have to put hooks underneath there so it can't come off the track. Would you like to summarize by filling in the blanks? Not sure exactly what blanks, but Montana Bee, we have steeply dipping ore bodies, extremely fine gold, and where in Canada is Goldex? I believe I get it in Montreal or something like that. Let's see.
I believe it came with French writing on it.
Yeah, let's see. Montreal. Yep. Ships from Montreal. That's where his warehouse is. So we got extremely fine gold, which dissolves well. We're using a non-toxic leach called Eco Goldex. No, Terry, I do not. Worth a darn at least. Montana Bee times per ton. Not sure how much confidential information there is, so I got to be a little vague. Generally, when I say high-grade ore, it means 1 ounce to the ton or better. Low-grade ore would be like 1/4 of an ounce to 1 ounce to the ton. We don't know what the resource is at Montana Bee. There's been no drilling or anything like that. We can extrapolate to some extent from chip samples I've taken. And there's also other interesting stuff on the hill that no, I don't do the lounge chair. That's Eva's job. Yeah. And so she tends the fire and kicks back,
I supervise. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Hello.
Patrick is saying, sorry to hear your voice. You sound so poorly. He sympathizes. I'm not Reday. Not sure what that means, Goldstream. But anyhow, so we're hoping to mine at around a ton a day, or at least an ounce in trained gold, recoverable gold per day, with about 3 people max is the whole idea. We're working on that right now, Douglas. Question is, how much will the EGX load per pound of resin? With the particular resin we're using, the Max Water 104 133, we have achieved loadings of up to 28 grams per pound, but the recent tests indicate to me that at 23 grams per pound, it still has a ways to go, because it's still snagging 85% of the gold in solution, single pass, first cartridge. So,
and it's not even a specialized product.
As I say, I do not know. It's not even specifically designed for this, but I'm guessing it's going to be well over an ounce per ton. Hopefully, 2 ounces per ton would be nice. But we shall see what we shall see. I'm also looking at the possibility, since this resin does an excellent job of getting the gold out of solution very rapidly, of some way of getting it out of the leaching solution while it's still leaching, instead of doing a solid liquid separation later. And the reason for that is pretty simple. If you have your rock with gold in it, surrounded by solution, as the gold dissolves from the rock and goes into solution, the rate of dissolution goes down. And the other thing is the ground rock here has solution in the cracks, between the particles. And so what you don't recover there, that solution still has that same high loading factor. We're looking at solution loadings of almost an ounce to the ton. So you do not want to lose that gold that's in the solution. If, on the other hand, you're absorbing it during the leach, as in like a resin and leach sort of situation, then whatever solution you lose in the tailings is pretty much barren solution anyway. So you're not losing gold to speak of. You're losing a few chemicals, but those are cheap. Currently, it looks like we're going to run maybe $20 a ton chemicals. not back. Rinsing system for the rock. Yeah, again, that adds complexity and such, substantial complexity. Depending upon the circumstances and exactly how it works, not a huge problem necessarily. With the amount of slimes I'm getting with the stuff I've been running so far, now that was dump material. So you're going to have some dirt in it. You're going to have weathered material. It's going to have a higher slimes content. I'm pretty sure this doesn't going to give me much in the way of slimes. So if you have a tailings that is still quite porous in bulk, it's not plugged with slimes, then you could rinse it quite effectively. That was my original concept. But resin and leach will also do a better job of getting the gold out of the rock, because if it goes in solution and then disappears, it's going to suck that gold out of the rock more effectively. So there's a couple of good reasons to consider it. And I think I've got a way that would do it fairly simply. The standard way is that they make sure that the pulp is all 50 mesh minus or whatever, and the resin is all 20 mesh plus, and then they just screen it. Again, that's another classification step. Gets complicated. I think I can maybe avoid that. Agitation is important. Yep. Pregnant circuit for continuous loading to divide for resin to ash. Yeah, if I understand what you're saying, pretty much. The problem is that separation of the resin from the pulp can be, again, kind of problematic. On big scale, it's not a big deal. You know, they don't mind spending $1 million for one more circuit. But I'd prefer to keep it as absolutely simple as possible. As say you saw my head frame and setup there. It doesn't get much simpler than that. And, you know, once it's in the bucket, comes up the shaft in the bucket, goes down the high line in the bucket, goes to a trailer in a quad in a bucket, gets on the trailer and goes to the ranch in a bucket. Very, very simple. You know, if you were to sit there and say, bring it up out of the shaft in a bucket, or even as many people would use some kind of dumping skip. Well, then what do you do? The skip dumps where? If you can't get it to the truck, you know, where the skip dumps directly in the truck, now a conveyor? Again, see, all this complexity is added there. Another thing is trying to minimize the disturbance so that there's no significant disturbance. And as you'll notice, basically everything I put up there tears down, we leave, and you can't see it. You know, it's gone. I did do a poor job selecting the paint for the camouflage, though. It needs to be a little darker color scheme.
Bear has no sense of fashion.
I don't know if it's fashion, but it's in terms of color, I'm pretty much impaired also.
Well, yeah, you did not get dirt brown.
Yeah, they didn't have dirt brown. They have lots of colors there, but none of them say Montana be dirt brown. But yeah, I say we'll get some darker stuff up there and kind of spiff that up some. Yes, you could Goldstream, although with that slope, you'd actually have to build like a trestle out a little bit to dump it down a chute, so it would actually slide down the chute all the way to the bottom. The side of the hill is already below the angle of repose. Okay, Courage. Could you send me those links? I'd be very interested, Courage. And by the way, anyone else who's got good solid information on ashing the resin, I would really, really like to get some good solid information. And here's my email address. Pretty easy to remember, hardrocku@outlook.com. But if you can do that, you know, if anyone comes in at some good stuff, I'd appreciate it. Gravity power line is what you use, Jeff. I presume that's another kind of high line where you're actually pulling or putting some kind of braking action or a generator on it. Yeah, Goldstream, it has to be pretty steep for a chute to work, and they can do so. As a matter of fact, I've got a cute little thing I got to show sometime on how to do it.
We have a chute there. It's just in the wrong place.
Yep. But, well, the high line works smoother anyhow, you notice?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not disputing that at all.
Yep.
So y'all got to tell Bear to cut up more of that dead wood. It's a mess.
Courage, what forum? Because what I need is someone who can sit there and say, okay, here's the situation and here's how you deal with it. I'm completely inexperienced at this, either on a theoretical or a practical basis. For example, if you've got flue gases, what do you use to condense the gold? It might be something. Okay, so you sent me a link theoretically. Let's find out here. Don't see anything new there. Nothing new there. Team Trump. Payment process. I don't see anything that showed up here, Courage. David told me to cut out more dead wood. Yeah, Courage. What forum, what link? Okay. You can't send links. Can you go to your email and send links? You know? Oh, in chat. Maybe the link was removed by some spam filters. Probably. They've got a stripping system for the resin that they sell, and it's an autoclave, basically a pressure cooker for several $1,000s, and then an electrowinning system. I think that was $7,000. Yeah, I don't know. Is Mr. Lodak here? Can you change that or something? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jeff, where it's going around like that? Sure. There's nothing wrong with that, except, again, it adds a little bit more complexity, and this seems to work pretty well. But depends on how far you had to carry buckets and things like that. I haven't found it to be too difficult in this situation. The tools are much more of a pain than carrying up a stack of 8 or 10 buckets. That Hilti is a beast going up that little trail there. Little one, can you come over here and just let them gaze at your beautiful face? And
give me a few minutes there.
Yep, I say that.
I'm answering a question for somebody.
It's a matter of trying to keep it as simple as possible, as light as possible, as cheap as possible. Not necessarily because we have to for this job, but the more you can do that, the more situations it will apply to. It'll work out well. Yeah, Jeff, you could definitely bring up some tools by sending down a bucket of ore. Yep. Oh, David is waiting with bated breath, my little one. But anyhow, it's just, so I'm trying to eliminate everything I can. I'm kind of the Elon Musk method. Do we need that capability? And if we do, is that the simplest way to get that capability? Can we combine it with something else? And say, try and look at everything and see just what is the absolute minimum that we can get by with. And the thing that was kind of interesting to me was on the that new Starship booster. They don't even fold up the grid fins. They figure the weight they save in a folding mechanism and the complexity they save in a folding mechanism, it doesn't cost them any more fuel to get it up there with the grid fins extended. Somebody did the calculation, said, well, why bother?
Give me a moment to go to the bathroom.
It's just one more thing to break. So, it's also a learning experience. This is the first time I've done this. I've done underground mining, but the first time I've ever designed hoisting equipment and this and that and the other. So it's been fun. I enjoy inventing. This is just a blast as far as I'm concerned. And the chances of me getting it perfect the first time are essentially zero. And I've learned that years ago, that don't be afraid to make mistakes, and then just fix them when you find out what you could have done better. But that's, just the way things work. And on the whole, I think it's working pretty well. I was surprised how simple it was to get that high line to work. But the funny thing is, when you saw me bring it up, I don't know if there was a bucket on it or not. I think there was a bucket on it. But if there's not a bucket, you have to have a weight. Otherwise, the little pulley kinks like this, and the housing on the pulley will grab the cable, and you can't pull it up.
You wanted to go somewhere?
Yep.
You wanted to slack off for a minute?
No.
Or three?
Slack off. I just need to drain the lizard.
Hi, everybody. I am not going to talk much because when I try to talk, I get this overwhelming urge to cough. And when I cough, it really, really hurts. This is, of course, entirely Bear's fault, but that's okay. Yes, David, learning starts with a mistake. As a matter of fact, an interesting paraphrased quote that I saw on a clip from a Star Wars movie recently. The master has failed far more often than the apprentice has ever tried. This happened to be in the comments section on that seminal, amazing, incredible scene where Yoda lifts the X-Wing out of the swamp on Dagobah. And that is quite true. Yes, I like to watch classic Star Wars clips, the very, very good ones. Well, Miner Jim, neither one of us here drinks coffee. I will never forget the herbal tea or the Bang energy drinks. Bear will never forget the Rockstar and massive quantities of profanity. Okay, coffee is a little bit out of it around here. Oh, yeah, David, the old Star Wars are great. You could not pay me enough to watch any of the new franchise or any of the new cartoons that have been utterly destroyed by Hollyweird. That's just the way it is, Well, of course, he said he was enjoying the quiet while my throat is sore. He's like that, You have to watch out for him. He talks terrible trash about me behind my back all the time. He really does.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you do. I know it. Nothing but a trash talking old Bear there.
Oh, Goldstream's trying to get me in trouble here.
Of course Goldstream's trying to get you in trouble.
Terry says, regardless of the carbs, take a teaspoon of honey. As you probably guessed, it's kind of hard to tell her to do anything she doesn't want to do. I do not attempt it unless it's an emergency. If her life is in danger or something, then I might try and really push. Aside from that, pretty much a wasted effort, and you certainly don't want to try it unless you absolutely have to. But anyhow, the high lines seem to be pretty good, although that was funny with that pulley, that little housing likes to grab. I may just also round it a little bit with a file and polish it a little bit. And yeah, I can understand, Terry, but who wants a pushover anyhow? So that was the only thing I found that was an issue. I just hung some pitons that I'd made a long, long time ago. and those were heavy, and I just forged them myself, you know. But such is life, not a big deal. Try and get some more video next time where I'm actually tearing stuff out down there, so you can see how fast that Hilti just smashes that rock in general. We also, it's hard to tell how much pre-fragmented the rock is from either tectonic movement or from the blasting that they presumably did when they drove that decline in the first place. I think there's, some is overbreak. Plus, right there next to surface, you get rainwater and freezing and stuff that'll tend to break it up even better. It'll be interesting to see once I'm 10 or 15 feet underground just exactly what it is. And I think we're going to need a Sierra Blaster or equivalent. There's a gentleman that contacted me several months ago about certain things that was actually dealing with something like that. I mean, researching it, and seemed to think that there was significant room for improvement in those micro blasters in terms of capacity, that you could get more rock breakage per cartridge without going over the legal definition of explosive device. I have no idea, Terry. I really do not know. It's something we probably want to just buy anyway. I think it's like a couple $100 for a setup or something like that, and your first box of cartridges or whatever. Not sure, but I'll tell you, gonna need something to make those little hard spots. And I mean, this is the first hard spot in over a cubic yard of rock that I've hit that's really difficult. Some others that, it took a few minutes to get them to move, but that was it. This one just ain't moving. The Sierra Blaster, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it has a mechanism. It's basically just a tube and a head, and you put a cartridge in it and fire it, and you can't really fire two cartridges at once. You could put two heads close together. And this guy was saying, I believe, basically you can make a more powerful cartridge for the what do you call it, per incident, up to so much black powder. Then it switches over legally into an explosive device. And so that was this guy's basic contention, as I recall, was that, yeah, you can crank the powder up a little bit without breaking the rules. You just have to design it and make it to use a higher power. I don't think that a Sierra Blaster would set off ANFO. I think you have to have an actual supersonic shockwave. And that the Sierra Blaster is not supersonic. That's the way it works. But I mean, we've tried, just had a boss I worked with. He said that one time they were trying to blow up a boulder and they, didn't have any Class A explosives. So they taped 3 blasting caps together and set it off and just scattered the ANFO all over. That was it. And the blasting caps are supersonic, I say it's just a field. Again, I don't know much details. Expansion gel, yeah, it doesn't work in 10 minutes, Patrick. It will work. You have to drill much bigger holes, more of them, and you got to wait hours and hours for it to do its job. I'd prefer to drill one hole, stick the head in there, pop, continue on. Much faster. But yeah, I did research expansion gel a while back, and you need, for example, 1-inch holes got to be like 10 inches apart and no more than 10 inches from the face, that sort of thing. So I say in a case like this, you probably have to drill a 1-inch hole instead of a 5/16 hole, then pour in your expansion gel and come back tomorrow and it'll be broken. Whereas with a micro blaster, Sierra blaster, drill a 5/16 hole, set your head in there, just go around the corner, so to speak, push the initiator, boom, done. Let's say $1,700 or so for 4 heads, huh? And what comes with that? That's a good question. Let's see here. Sierra blaster. Yeah, search terms are like, we got one with Jeff Williams, and there's an introduction there. Sierra blaster, make big things small. Check out this season of Gold Rush Whitewater. Yeah, let's see. Store. Single head blasting system, $725. 2 head, 1,000. Okay, so about 700. I mean, about 250. Yeah, they're charging over $200 a head. And boosters, general information. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out in a little more detail. Yeah, it's more expensive than I recalled it. Hey, Adam, how's it going? Drill bit should be SDS. Not sure what you mean by SDS. I know they're going to have to be, tungsten carbide tips for this crap. Stephen, essentially it's considered a high pressure gas injector, i.e. the propellant goes and flashes into gas at many thousands of psi, and the head provides the inertia to hold that in place and inject it into the rock. As I understand it, that's the basic thing. And because of that, it's not an explosive device, much like, say, a ram set for driving anchor bolts is not an explosive device. It just provides a, big boom, that pushes something. I say the other thing is too, is because you're not using explosives, you don't need a permit from the BLM either. Oh, okay, you're talking the chuck basically for the drill bits, Terry. Okay, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah, like the Bosch chuck and stuff where you click it in. And I don't know how long it's going to be before you have to resharpen the drill bit going through stuff like this. But we can test that because I've got some of this rock here, and we can actually test that and see what the penetration rate is, how fast the drill bits wear out. Because with that Hilti, I don't need a Sierra Blaster for just any old rock. I need it for the tough stuff. Because that Hilti will beat the crap out of most rock. It'll go through it pretty easily. Well, it was the contact is what's in the cartridge is he thinks it was black powder. That's the gas generating chemical was black powder. I believe that's what he was saying, if I recall the conversation correctly. You don't fill the hole, the cartridge is filled with black powder. I think black powder is a little faster than smokeless powder, but I do not know. But that was the concept, as far as I know. That was what the propellant was just a black powder as opposed to something else. In this case, it would be vertical because, again, I got a little knob sticking out about like this. Think of a large cantaloupe or a very small watermelon just sticking out right in the way. And I've dug all the way around it. And I've carved a groove this deep in it across the top here. Still haven't got it to break loose. But I'll regrind the bit and sharpen it and see if that'll get me what I need. And that's another thing I need to get is another Hilti bit. I don't know if there's a Hilti distributor here in Helena. Again, I come from Tucson, where you have all these things, and it's pretty easy to find a number of things. Hilti authorized distributor, make and supply in Helena, 2637 Airport Road. Yeah, there we go. See how much. 406. I got so many things to do, but that keeps me from getting bored. 3312. Where is that? Airport Road. Goodness, where is that? Oh, there's not much out there by the airport. And when they say Airport Road in Helena, there's not a whole lot of options here. FedEx, Montana Broom and Brush. Oh, okay. Out there. Okay. There's Cedar Street. Yep, no problem. Okay, I got the phone number. I'll give them a call tomorrow. Those Hilti bits are not cheap. I'm guessing a standard chisel bit is going to be $75 or more. That's a possibility, Terry. Feathers and wedges is something else that might work. But again, you got to drill a bigger hole, and you might need to drill multiple holes instead of just one. I don't know. We'll see what's out there and see what the costs and effectiveness are. Again, everything in life is trade-offs. Everything is trade-offs. But I do know it's a lot more fun making things go boom. I've done that a lot. Yeah, Goldstream, I don't think I can rent them and get much when I take them back the way I beat them. Yep, you're right, Jim. It's basically behind Walmart. Yep. Okay, Courage, thank you. Let's see what I got here. There it is. Help with procedure for gold recovery from resin-filled cartridges, gold refining and metal extraction form. Okay. I say, if nothing else, I might be able to work my way through that and find somebody who really knows what they're talking about. So thank you very much, Courage. I appreciate it. How wide is the seam? The total seam is about this wide. The actual kryptonite varies anywhere from an inch to 8 to 10 inches wide. If it's only a few inches, I can break it. When it gets this big, if it doesn't have a pre-existing fracture, life gets tough. This particular one is just really, really tough. I really want to, next time we're up there, I want to get and just see if I can get it to do like I did Sunday morning with just fire at the end of the chisel bit. That was amazing. We're taking the decline a little more than 3 feet wide down. Yeah. Adam, there's no standard answer to that. It would depend on exactly when everything was being emplaced. And Jim, you know, that would probably be a good thing to do like next week when theoretically Eva and I are not contagious and Jim is over here and he can talk. It's a lot easier talking than typing, trust me. But there's no hard and fast rule on that. Like everything else, it'd be nice if it was real simple, but it never ever is. The other thing, Terry, is that this ridge that Montana Bee is on has other structures that look fairly similar, and some have been mined, and there's we've kind of claimed everything, so we have a lot of exploration to do.
Okay, that is just bizarre.
And that would also provide other possibilities there. Some places I have not gone in yet because safety reasons, etc. Drill outside. Oh no, that stuff's easy to move. I say I've got it. I can get it all torn out with the Hilti, no problem. As a matter of fact, I was trimming stuff up with just a standard hand hammer and chisel to try and minimize the overbreak and stuff, so I didn't loosen any more than I had to. And I was loosening, I don't know, 10, 20 pounds a minute with just a standard hammer and chisel.
That is
not a problem.
Weird.
I say so. The Hilti has no problem at all with anything except the kryptonite. And I say only this one has it really given me problems. The longest I had to hammer on one spot before was maybe 2 minutes.
This
and
is
it broke
really,
loose.
really bizarre.
Coring sediments is not that easy, Adam. You can drill it, but quite often you're using an auger drill. Core drills work best in good solid rock. I do have a phone number. I don't usually give it out here, but I do have an email. And I am not in Tucson at this time. I'm up in Montana.
Because Arizona sucks rocks.
But Norberto, here's my email. If you want to send me an email, if you can do that, then I can get back with you and we can discuss things. I presume you have it now. If not, you can pause. But yeah, be happy to chat. As pretty much everyone knows here who's been here a while, willing to chat about anything for free. You know, once we get into a certain point, then we'll see. But I just did something for Dave today, where he wanted me to look at a press release, basically, and evaluate it for him. I've done that more than once. Oh yeah, yes, hey Jeff, that's what I'm saying. This rock is pretty well broken, except for that. I'm having to be careful not to loosen stuff up too much, so that when we get past it, it's good and solid, and little pieces aren't going to come loose and go downhill and whack us in the head later. We may have to put some more lagging up to make sure none of that happens. And but right now, yeah, so just this damn kryptonite stuff. It's just annoying as heck. There's one little knob sticking out there in my way. And so as I say, we shall see what we shall see. But except for that, it's just carving out super easy. I mean, literally, there's places I'm just tearing it out with my bare hands. Because again, you don't want anything loose like that be above you. So, well, this hard rock is a polycrystalline quartz. Okay. Let's see if we can. You can see the different colors in that section right there. This camera doesn't do a really good job. That's actually gray, and this is brown. You know. Okay, Norberto. There you go. How small is the grain size?
5.
Oh. I'm saying 1/10 of a millimeter up to maybe 3/10 of a millimeter. But it's just some tough quartz. There's, different hardnesses and toughnesses of things. And this is just tough. And again, I'll try our next trip there, because it was so cool just looking at it, to just see that chisel bit. It looked like on fire at the tip as it was pounding against that stuff. It was awesome. But I can't use two hands on the Hilti and one hand on the camera, and Eva was in no condition. Poor girl. She's a real trooper. Okay. Feeling like, she was feeling horrible. But she's not like, we need to go home. We need to go home. We need to go home. No, she's just let me lay in bed here. That could be true, Adam. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'll say, all I know is it's not brittle. You can see how sharp the edge is where this flake broke off. And you can see these are, well, you can't see because the darn camera isn't doing it, but this is a cleavage plane here. And this is where the rock itself broke, right in here. Yeah, you can kind of see like there. See, that's where the rock itself broke. This was a pre-existing fracture cleavage plane, and like that. And yeah, it's some tough stuff. There's where the Hilti was whacking at it a little bit. And that Hilti would normally just shatter anything that it hit that hard. So
even bull quartz.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure exactly what it did. Can you scratch it with the knife? Nah, it shouldn't be able to, but let me demonstrate here. Quartz is harder than a knife blade. So let's just check to be sure. And no, I'm cleaning some loose stuff in places, but I'm doing repeated scratches right there at the tip of my thumb. and just nothing, which is what you expect from quartz. That's basically what I've done. Oh, here's another very, very important tip. When using a demolition hammer, always make sure you have 2 bits. And the reason is not if you wear one out or break one, because they don't break, or at least not the Hilti bits. You can get it stuck. As I was, again, and that's very right, Terry. You open it up around so it has no support. And as I was digging underneath it, the bit got in a crack and just sunk in. And it stuck. It was not coming out.
You'll be able to retrieve it when you get the rock out.
No, I've got it out, because you uncouple your tool from the hammer, put in your second bit, and then very carefully go around the bit that's stuck until you get it loose and get it out. Yeah, that would have scared the crap out of Eva there, Adam. He was looking at a scarp. He thought he saw a chunk of quartz there, but came closer. It was a bunch of spider webs. Yeah, pretty much, Patrick. The problem is the hammer only hammers in. It won't hammer back out. And this can get very frustrating because you start going, oh, crap, it's getting out, but then it's just too late. There must be a big chunk of that stuff that's loose underneath the little outcrop there that I'm dealing with. And so as the chisel bit got in that crack, it pushed it down against a lot of pressure, but nevertheless pushed it down and got in there and just jammed. So again, you just stop, uncouple, get the other bit, and work around it. I actually took and hammered on the side of the bit a little bit too to work it loose, and it came out. But always have 2 bits. 2 bits is really important, even though it's expensive. Again, about $75 a bit. I was looking at one. It was a 2-foot long chisel bit. A couple of years ago, it was $120 from Hilti. Really good for digging trenches, though. I do not know, Adam. I'm not the mineralogist where I could determine flint, but
Unlikely to be flint.
Yeah. I don't think it's flint, because I think flint is really microcrystalline.
It doesn't have the structure of flint.
Eva assures me it does not have the
seen
structure of
flint.
flint. She knows what flint looks like. Yep. Terry says, I'd rather be around a bear than spiders. Was bitten badly when I was a kid. You aren't from Australia, are you? I heard they got horrible spiders down there. So I'm the true king. Maybe chert. I also believe chert is a microcrystalline. Let's see. Chert.
Now it may have flint in it, but it is not pure flint.
And sedimentary rock composed of microcrystalline or cryptocrystalline quartz. It occurs in nodules, discretionary masses, and layered deposits. Now, I don't think this is chert. This is actually in a vein. And I would call it polycrystalline, not microcrystalline. Yeah, I agree, Adam. Chert and flint are fairly similar, very fine grained. This is not fine grained. I mean, it's not as coarse as a granite. But yeah, it's and I'm not sure what the gray color is that you can't really see in the camera too well. But I've seen quartz that was a little lighter in color than that was running 40 ounces to the ton gold. Oh, if it was diamond, Patrick, it would break easier.
If it were flint, it would
Is
break
it
easier.
metamorphic? Probably not, Adam. This appears to be a hydrothermal intrusive sort of thing. It does look to be an actual hydrothermally deposited vein, and with altered wall rock and stuff like that involved. That would be my interpretation. Again, I am not an expert, but this particular stuff just looks like really tough vein quartz with not the amount of mineralization that you have here. We have this much iron. It's softer, although that pack rat stuff, some of it's pretty darn hard too. It looks more like that, but it's still tough. That's what's weird. You'd think something that looks that porous would be pretty easy to break up, and it's not. It's fairly tough. So again, I think the Hilti can handle it, but I don't know. I haven't tried the pack rat structure yet. The reason being that mining it, most of it is mined out, and the few areas left where I can see, good grade and stuff is holding up the back. So we'd have to do ground support for modest tonnage. Whereas in the middle decline, instead of working horizontally, I'm working vertically. I'm on top of it, underhand mining, and that makes it easy. And Adam, yeah, the iron is interesting. The stuff at the pack rat structure was running 33% iron. This is more of the limonite fluffy rock from the perpendicular vein. Jeff, what brand of resin are you using in those 4 filters? Max Water 104 133, strong base anion resin. And it's it says for removing nitrates or something like that is what the particular ad I ordered it from. It was from that was eBay, right? Did I got that? Yeah, eBay. But it's Max Water 104 133 strong base anion resin. And we'll see. It is definitely doing the job. I got these other 2 samples from Purolite that I'll be testing this winter and see if they do better. According to the salesperson, the price is approximately the same, which is about $15 a pound. Pyroxene, iron silicate. Yeah, it might be, Adam. Definitely got a lot of iron in it. And to say it also has gold, about an ounce to the ton, roughly. So it's good enough. We're not going to throw it away, but it's tough enough that we're probably going to stockpile it for now.
Well, iron silicate looks far blacker than what you have.
I don't know about that, little one. Let's see. Pyroxene. Pyroxene. Pyroxene mineral group. Oh, come on, some pictures. Images, how's that? No, it's not necessarily that.
How do you spell it?
Pyroxene, just like it sounds. It apparently got some interesting. That looks more like tourmaline there. Yeah, they're kind of grayish. That would be what I'd expect. Of course, these are mainly specimen grade stuff, and apparently some of it is green. That be peridot, maybe? Is that a pyroxene? Obviously, Adam is a much better mineralogist than I am, which is great. I really like how everyone throws in
Tourmalines are apparently some form of pyroxene.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I'm looking at that.
They're
That
very
looks like tourmaline.
crystalline.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing olivine is as well.
Well, see, it's crystalline. What's that? Wow, that's an interesting shine there. Let me get my lupe out here. Now that's interesting. Wow. Because that looks metallic. Interestingly enough. Let's see if it gouges.
There are foreign blends.
That actually gouged. Wow. That's fascinating. Okay. Now, for all you people, let's see an interesting something small on a rock sometime. It's really important that you make it easy to find later. It can be surprising how hard it is. And one of the easiest ways to do it is just mark it like that. And let us see if we can get that to shine. Because there's actually some metallic looking mineral there that has a shiny silvery luster and seems to actually gouge to a slight extent.
Give me your loop and let me look.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that is. Galena, maybe?
Well, none of the pyroxenes I'm seeing. Where's your mark here?
The big black circle. See the big black circle? That's why you make a big black circle. Enstatite. I don't know. What is enstatite here? Enstatite.
Quite a few metallic things in this circle. Just
Magnesium, pyroxene, silicate, man. I don't know. I don't think enstatite gouges with a bright silvery metallic surface.
There's quite a few shiny metallic things in this.
Yeah. Aren't they, little one? I wonder, that'd be really nice if that was electrum. That would be way cool.
Yeah. That rock doesn't look like any of the pyroxene types I am seeing here.
Yeah, well, he's just kind of guessing at again, when you're looking in Wikipedia and stuff, they show you the classic museum quality specimen, not the crap.
Say augite and something igneous rock. They don't look like specimens except for the crystals.
Yeah. Pure platinum seems unlikely in this particular case. Platinum's not what you would expect. I would expect to see electrum before I would see platinum. It could be some lead sulfide. and my brain's vapor locking at the moment. Yeah, I say I don't know. That's the sort of thing. Gosh, yeah, I can see it from here. I'm still seeing. When I rotate the rock, I can actually see the shine at arm's length when I get the light glinting on it properly. Fascinating.
And it's got a two-tone shine when you move it under the loop.
Yep.
Where it got fractured.
Yep. So anyhow, say that's pretty interesting. That might be worth some kind of a multi-element analysis. See what else is in there besides gold. It's clearly not metallic gold, but most of this ore runs roughly 1-to-1 gold-silver ratio. So let's say electrum is a real possibility. I don't know, but that looks metallic to me. Unless it's like a galena or some other soft sulfide. Frankenstein ore, doesn't scare me. So it's entirely possible it's galena, or maybe even like a zinc or a tin sulfide, something like that. There's a number of sulfide minerals that will do that, but you'll have to check this out, Jim. It does look like it gouged instead of broke, and where I drew the blade across it, and yeah, that is interesting. So anyhow, my guess would be, as say, probably another sulfide mineral of some sort. Galena, I believe, is somewhat malleable as opposed to others that are more brittle. Yeah, that's my thought, Goldstream. Something like a pyrrhotite or sphalerite is a possibility, but I'm thinking more like galena just because it seems to be kind of malleable. Hey, Idaho, how's it going? I'm a little sick. Eva's a lot sick right now. Well, in terms of the weight, there's not a lot of, first of all, this is not a light rock. It's not a high density rock, but there's not a whole high percentage of it in there either. And so, but that's my guess, is some kind of metallic sulfide there. So, hey, Tricky, how's it going? Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a brown rock. Yep. Tricky, still working on the finding someone who knows how to ash the resin, but the resin is working really well in terms of getting the gold at about 7 times the original flow rate. I'm still getting 90% recovery out of stage 1. And once it was loaded up to about 3/4 of an ounce per pound, I'm still getting 85% recovery in stage 1. So it's got a ways to go before it's loaded to inefficiency. Not sure how far, but it's doing quite well. And junkyards usually have an XRF. Really? I've never seen one at a junkyard. I've seen them. There's a lot of little tricks, like hit it with a grinder and stuff. Yeah. So I'm working on it, Tricky. No answers yet, but I'm not terribly worried. And but as I understand it, volatilization is a real issue when you're ashing it. So you may have to do something to the flue gas. Another thing I'm wondering about is what happens if you were to just mix the dried resin with litharge, red lead oxide, which is going to provide oxygen for the oxidation, and then produce lead to collect the gold as a possibility. The nice thing is, in a case like that, you could probably use a fairly close to a standard assay flux to do that. Now, you're going to want to use some silver in there to make sure that the gold dissolves well in the lead. But it's, at least theoretically, it sounds quite plausible. Okay, thank you, Tricky, because that's my thought, is the resin will reduce the lead oxide, while the oxygen from the lead oxide will, oxidize the resin. And again, you need to have, so pure lead does not dissolve gold in the assay. You have to have some silver in there. And I believe something like at least 4 times the silver that you have gold. I'd try at least that and see what happens. But that's my understanding. Again, hopefully we can just make a standard assay flux sort of thing out of this, and you take your resin and volatilize it, and then just cupel your button, and there you go. Yeah, I'd give it a shot, Tricky. Do it in small quantities. I've got little crucibles this big that I can play all kinds of little tests with, like a gram of resin and things like that, half a gram, see what happens. But yeah, lead oxide, silver, borax cap sounds plausible as a starting place. We'll see what happens. Thank you for trying that out. Yes, people, you're watching history in the making. But that's what I'd like to do, is be able to just essentially dry it, then flux it, furnace it, and then, it would be nice if you didn't even have to cupel, if you could do it with something else besides lead oxide. But you may have to go with a collector metal, especially when you're talking, the gold in the resin is basically divided on an almost atomic level. So it's very, very small particles that are easy to just vaporize and go fly away. So you need something that'll grab them, is my theory. But that's exactly what the lead oxide does in a standard fire assay. Let's see. Really appreciate the help, guys. This comes in handy. I like doing stuff, but research is not what I like doing. I like learning things, but I don't like the running around the internet trying to find this and that. If I can just go right to it, fine. I don't mind reading a report that tells me what I need to know. Unfortunately, usually 90% of what you find is garbage, not useful. So I'll go talk to the Hilti people tomorrow. Hey, Smoking, how's it going? By the way, Tricky, I suppose you saw my head frame and carriage setup. Latest video there. Hey, Smoking, how's it going? Eva's pretty sick. I'm a little sick. Therefore, Jim's not here, but he is on the internet. So if you have a question for him, he can answer it.
It is Bear's fault I am sick.
Lead sponge and lead dioxide. Okay. Possibly. Yeah. But anyhow, the resin testing continues to go well. The resin, even at 7 times the flow rate, is still recovering like 90% of the gold in stage 1. And still hasn't topped out. After loading to about 3/4 of an ounce per pound of resin, it's still grabbing 85% of the gold that's in solution going through at the higher rate of speed, about 100 gallons an hour. So it's doing just fine in terms of getting the gold out of the solution. We're kind of batting around some ideas how to get the gold out of the resin simply and effectively. But Terry, it's not that bad because I basically got 2 irons in the fire right now. One is loading resin. Number 2 is getting that decline started and retimbered. And once I get those 2 things, there's secondary stuff like, for example, Sierra Blaster. How much does that cost, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, the getting the gold out of the resin. Again, I'm not doing it in too much detail. I'm just kind of gathering information right now. And when I get to trying to do it, then I'll focus on that. But focus on one thing at a time, and it works pretty good. What is their current loading factor? Currently, the resin appears to be at about 23 grams per pound, judging by the rough amount of solution and the rough head grade through there and the rough tailings grade coming out, etc. I'm looking 20 to 23 grams per pound of resin, grams of gold per pound of resin. Do not know what the silver might be. We're not keeping track of that at this point. And it is still doing a good job of recovery at this point. I mean, I consider 85% single pass still doing pretty good. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe a couple ounces to the ton. I mean, a couple ounces to the pound of resin. I know the Amberane something or other many years ago, again back in the 80s, it was reported to load 5 ounces per pound. So that would be pretty good. And that's using a head grade solution running about, again, 2/3 to 3/4 of an ounce per ton of solution. So it's going pretty good. Very happy with this resin that I say Chris is the one who sent me 4, and this is the one that worked best. But I've still got a couple others to test later on. Again, priority right now, get as much loaded resin as I can before the solution freezes up. And I've got another batch to dump and reload tomorrow. So that's an interesting deal. I'll have to wear a dust mask tomorrow because when I'm grinding, that's when there's all that rock dust, which is bad stuff. But when the wind's not blowing the right direction, it can I can actually breathe it. Most cases, the wind's blowing like directly from the west. It's all just going away from me, and I don't have a problem at all. So that's about it. I really want to get that decline cleaned up and in production. That would be nice. I'd be very happy then. Smoking, I'm guessing about a month before we actually see gold, because I got other stuff that's a weather priority, and getting the gold out of the resin is something that doesn't need reasonable weather to do. It's something that can be done inside. So that's it. In terms of ingots, a couple ounces isn't much in the way of ingots, buttons and stuff. But I would like to have a couple ounces of gold in resin before we get shut down for the season. We're pretty well on the way there. Right now we're looking about a total of 18.5 grams actually recovered. In the first resin cartridge was only about 375 grams. So I say that'll be, what would that be? A quarter of the way there? Yeah, quarter of the way to 2 ounces. There's more in solution sitting on the pad there that I haven't gotten yet. And and the fires of Mount Helena, huh? Mount Helena is right there. Yeah, Jeff. Well, the problem is if I dumped it into a dump trailer, first of all, I'd have to get the dump trailer up to it. I can't even make a U-turn with a quad. I have to go around the turn, climb up a hillside, let it coast back, and then finish the turn, make like a 3-point turn to even just get a quad turned around there. So it would be challenging for the dump trailer. And then any small dump trailer, what do I do with it there? I don't want to haul that, 60 miles for 300 pounds. By leaving it in the buckets, once it gets to the landing zone and it's loaded in the quad takes it to the trailer, and we load. I can bring home 3/4 of a ton of rock along with the quad, and just bring that home behind, my the Bago on our way back after doing what we're doing. So while something like that's certainly possible, in this particular case, I don't think it's useful. I haven't given that much thought at this point. Now I understand, and the main thing I'm thinking of is how do you pick it up and stuff. You could have like a little arm with a pulley and a piece of pipe going down here so it pivots on the pipe, and you could swing over there, hook a rope, pull, swing it back around, hook it to your high line, and let it go. But I can pretty much pick the bucket up and do that without too much trouble. So I say there's no plans at this point. How about inflation for groceries in your area? Little one.
Yeah. Winco is going up the slowest. They're going up about probably 5 to 10% every month and a half. Walmart is going up second slowest, other than meat. Walmart is going through the roof on meat. Safeway and Albertsons are running about 15% a month inflation, and they're not having the sales on meat that they used to have.
Could you hear that, Adam? I don't know how well the mic picked it up. If not, I will repeat it. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, in answer, bad.
Oh yeah, it's only going to get worse, people. It's only going to get worse.
Yep. Yeah. The situation.
Look up shadow stats. Shadow stats tells you the real inflation based on the old calculations before the government made them go away.
Before they eliminated the volatile
Before
food
they
and
eliminated
energy.
the shit that matters,
Yeah.
which they're very good at eliminating.
He said gas went up 19 cents this month. Where
Our
Adam's
gas
at.
has held steady the last 5 weeks here, but I have no doubt it's going to go up again. Propane is running below national average.
Okay. Yeah, I say the whole situation, I think, is going to be deteriorating rapidly because nobody's really doing anything to fix it. It's out of whack, and it's not going to get back into whack without some very concerted and effective addressing of the problems, which is not happening. So I don't know. Jim and I are, got a little gentleman's bet, so to speak, is whether or not it's going to fall apart before January 1st. And it depends on certain things which don't have definitive information on. We have hints of this and that and the other, and it's going to depend on what's true, what's not true, how much of it is true, how true is it, how bad is it, things like that. I don't know if it's an economic bubble or a cliff. But yeah, I have this feeling of impending doom too, Adam.
You are very justified in feelings of impending doom.
Do you have a guesstimate on what you can get out of the mine? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that in terms of tonnage, grade, whatever. Our standard rule is we're targeting a grade of around an ounce to the ton, better if we can find it. And tonnage wise, really don't know at this point. Okay. It's really questionable as to how much is there because we haven't done any drilling or whatever. We can only see what we can see and sample what we can sample. And if the price of gold were to go to the point where, we could make money on a tenth of an ounce to the ton, if that was our break even, which is pretty low for a micro scale operation. So it's just fine for a big underground operation, mechanized and such. But if we could do that, we'd have quite a resource. On the other hand, if we got to keep it up, around 3/4 of an ounce to the ton, half an ounce to the ton or better, then, we got a whole lot less of a resource. It also depends on what else we find in the hill. We have some interesting stuff to prospect yet. These are old workings. And so we shall see. Jeff goes, love Eva, the shit that matters, quote unquote. Yep. That's my thought, Adam.
Speaking of the shit that matters, a a lot more medical supplies are in short supply, including the 3 millimeter syringes that are frequently used with or without needles to deliver IV drugs.
Okay. Apparently,
They've gone.
syringes are getting in short supply. Medical supplies are getting in short supply. What's new? Yeah, Jeff. By the time it gets 2,800, you may want to still keep holding. You know, I suspect that the price of gold is going to skyrocket as things fall apart, especially as the United States of America starts crumbling systemically. That's going to shock the world.
Bearing in mind, Lord Malarkey is getting us in trouble again.
Yeah. So I would not be surprised at all if gold started skyrocketing. I also believe that in the not too distant future, the regulations will be relaxed because it will become self-evident that we need to do everything we can to get the economy rolling again. And any place anyone can make an honest buck, they need to be encouraged to do that. And so it's my, again, guesstimate that in the not too distant future, say in the next year or two, the whole mining environment is going to change dramatically. So $10 a pound copper, Jeff? Is that what I'm reading here? 48-ounce silver, $2,800 gold. Okay, those are projections. Tricky, tell that to the Venezuelans. Tell that to the USSR. They don't want it to crumble, but, you know, no more than a pilot wants to auger his plane in. But there comes a point where you just run out of options because you are too stupid. You know?
Never underestimate the stupidity of leftists.
Yeah. How are druggies going to deal with a higher price of needles? Lead's cheaper than needles.
Also,
what do you know, Tricky Dicky? Remember
Yes.
when the British Empire, the sun never set on the British Empire, and it was a gigantic and unstoppable thing? Yeah. Nothing's too big to fail.
Also, distilled water is in short supply in some places.
Okay, so drinking water is short in terms of, you know, packaged
No,
water.
distilled water for CPAPs.
Oh, for CPAPs, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know about Arizona sitting good, Jeff. Montana, I think, is in good shape. Yes, exactly, Smoking. As the inflation goes up, eventually the price of gold will start inflating too.
Arizona is a lost cause.
Yeah.
Read Sun Tzu. It's a bad battleground.
Yeah, Tricky. Well, the glory days of the United States were a little bit before my time, but I can sure see the decay in the empire here. Copper's at 436. I remember when copper was, 90 cents was a high price. No, let's say nothing's too big to fail. And the thing is, when they fail, they tend to fail quickly. Remember how the Soviet Union collapsed apparently in a matter of months? But the signs were there for years. It's just, it finally reaches a tipping point where it just goes over the cliff. Glenn Eva says, Arizona sucks rocks. In terms of Sun Tzu, there are different kind of battlefields according to Sun Tzu. There is, and one of them is a death battlefield.
Well, look at all of Sun Tzu's battlefields. There were 7.
Yeah.
Most of Arizona is in very bad battlefields.
Yeah, it's a bad place to, it's a great hill to die on because you're probably going to die on it. It's not a good hill to make a stand, so to speak. Yes, exactly, Idaho. I think that we were in a precarious position, and the people who are running the show now, the engines on the airplane are making loud banging noises, and so they're deciding to, let's see if we can do some loop-the-loops. I don't think it's a good combination. Yeah, smoking. I can understand. Smoking used to strip the TV cable coax off the poles. He used to do tons of copper and aluminum. He was making $300 an hour at 56 cents a pound. He says, man, what would he do at 4 or 5? Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, the magnesium shortage has now been confirmed, which can have all kinds of interesting situations. Is McDonald's in Montana hiring? Yes. What's the current advertised
McDonald's
price?
is one of the cheapo depot ones. They're hiring at $15.50 an hour. Hardee's is hiring at $17 an hour for shift leaders. Wendy's is going anywhere from $15.50 to $17, depending on what they hire for. Most places have sign-on bonuses still.
Yeah. I agree, Idaho. Yep, that's right, Glenn. Oh, and don't forget what are they selling? Hiring sign-on bonus, $500?
Yeah, a couple of them are still offering $500 sign-on bonuses. I believe that a few are offering $6.
Okay, so
a couple of gas stations
fast
are still
food
offering
places
sign-on.
are running $500 sign-on bonuses too. Yeah, inflation of wages, inflation of prices. Oh yeah, it seems to be spiraling, and that's why I expect the situation to become more unstable, the price of gold and silver to go up, and regulations to become either relaxed or unenforceable. In other words, there's nobody to actually go out in the field and enforce anything. So,
well, it should be noted that we've never seen anyone in the field here to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, from what I can tell, the people at the BLM are busy pushing paperwork right now. Hey, Jim, you've been here for years. Have you ever seen a BLM agent in the wild that wasn't specifically coming to visit you for some reason? I mean, just running around in a pickup truck staring at things? All the time I was in Arizona, I never did. Yeah, you got your choice. I mean, I'd go for Taco Bell. But
actually, I would go for Slim Chickens.
Yeah.
I would go for Slim Chickens.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us are all on the same page here. We tend to think alike, which is not surprising. But we're all in a rather trepidatious state of mind. My my basic philosophy is we can live without them better than they can live without us. So that gives us a lot of leverage. All we got to do is just say, nah. Look at the vaccine mandates things. How many people are just saying, nah, I'm not going to get it. If you want to fire me, go ahead. Then I'll sue your ass. And it's really just shocking. Who would have thunk it 2 years ago? This is bizarre.
Anybody who wore a tinfoil hat knew this was coming.
Yeah. Jeff Kablock says they have to ride horses to get to me, and I see them 2 hours before they get to it. Not in Florida. Not where you're at now. Big Mac is now $6. And the pimply face kid still gets my order wrong and puts onions on it at $15 an hour.
Cheer up. McDonald's is talking about automating.
Okay, so Jim says he has seen the Sunday enforcement officer out and about. Is that frequent, or where do they do that? I'm not familiar. We'll have to talk about this. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I've been, smoking. I've been listening to, what was it? Rough Times in 1980. Remember when Reagan got elected and things were falling apart then, and he got it put back together again. And everyone goes, see, it's all fixed. It's like, no, because, and I like Reagan a lot, but he needed to really put the hammer down when he made the budget deal and the Democrats reneged. He should have put the hurt to him somehow. It's just that, it all goes to prove no matter how much money you make, you can always spend it faster, especially if you're a government. Has to split their currency into higher and lower. I think, Adam, what you're thinking of is when you have inflation for a long period of time, especially hyperinflation, and then you get it stabilized, then they will print up a new currency that knocks 3 decimal points off or something like that.
Devaluation. And
then you have so much time to turn in your old, no, not devaluation, revaluation, because they've now restabilized everything at a different level, but all those zeros are a giant pain in the butt. I remember Mexico doing that 70s, 80s, something like that. They had a inflation. It used to be 12 pesos to the dollar. Then it was 6,000 or 8,000.
Well, bank bail-ins are a possibility now. Bank bail-ins happened in Cyprus.
Yep. And so then they'll recall all the old money and issue new money. And if you haven't turned in your old money by such and such a time, then it's worthless.
People are beginning to worry about bank bail-ins with good reason.
Yeah. And by the way, a bail-in is when they just say everyone needs to donate a certain amount of their bank account to the bank. Yeah.
Well, since the bank now owns your money anyway.
Tricky Dicky. Politics are very difficult. You scratch my back, I'll stab yours. Yep. Idaho Roger says he's never seen a BLM officer in the field. And they will.
We saw a couple in Arizona.
BLM?
Yeah. There was one dude we ran into one day on the road to the backbone.
Was it BLM?
Yeah, well, It was either BLM or Forest Service, because you were asking him about moving that big rock that was in the way. And he was telling you that you couldn't move the big rock using chains or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, if they were out there, and I mean they're afraid of the wild, supposedly. Inflation continues to increase the rate. We'll soon have to use a wheelbarrow to carry our wallets. Yeah, that's generally what happens on these things. That's why being in gold mining and stuff is not a bad idea. He sure it wasn't a homeless person? No. Government agents have free pickup trucks they drive and stuff like that. I did meet a Forest Service agent in the field one time, but that was by appointment for a particular reason, to get rid of some explosives. Goldstream says, I see the inspectors at the mining shows a lot. Yeah, Idaho. That's my thought in terms of effectively no regulations enforced. If it gets chaotic enough, then it will become hazardous for them to go out in the field looking for stuff. It would be unfortunate, but I'm not pushing it in this direction. Someone else is. Yeah, I just don't know. But that's why I'm keeping it to where it's quite plausibly no significant disturbance. That's the purpose of all this. So you can sit there and go, what disturbance? The only thing disturbed is already disturbed land. As a matter of fact, we're getting rid of debris left over from the old timers, burning up the scrap wood and this, that, and the other. Jeff says the BLM came out riding horses with South African representative to view the elk herd management. They had 20 representatives in 1987. That sounds about right. But I say that's another purpose of all this stuff, is to have no significant disturbance. That's also the idea of the paint job on the head frame, is just so there's no visual disturbance. And it gets taken down when we're not actually using it. So I say it's hard to tell. A regulator can always find you're doing something wrong if they try hard enough. That's the problem. Yeah, Terry, tomorrow's Virginia election will be interesting to see what happens. Now, my question is it going to be an honest election in terms of only people who are supposed to vote, and the votes get counted reasonably accurately? Because
the goddess predicts that McAuliffe will win by a very small margin.
Yeah, once they count enough votes to give him a small margin. Yeah. Jeff, yeah, less than 5 acres. Oh, don't worry. We're talking very, very little disturbance, and it's all on previously disturbed area. So that's, that's the rule, because you don't need a permit if there's no disturbance. And there's no motorized earth moving equipment, and there's no explosives and no chemicals, So we shall see what we shall see. I say it's a complicated situation right now. I think everyone agrees with that. Well, another problem with the Virginia, and I'm not a big fan of early voting. This is a classic example why. The situation is changing rapidly around the time of the election. The information out there is changing rapidly. People are seeing a different story. Why should you be voting 2 months before an election when a lot of the information you need to make your decision isn't going to be there until 2 weeks before the election? To me, it just seems stupid. It's kind of like, well, do you want to marry this chick? I just met her. It's the wrong time to make a decision. And so I dislike early voting, period. The only reason you should be able to vote early is if it's absentee for a reason, in my opinion, because the decision-making dynamic changes rapidly, consistently, in the month or two before Election Day. Yep. Yeah, smoking. I agree with that. Always leave something small for an inspector to find so that he can write you up a warning and you can get it fixed and everyone's happy and he's done his job. I agree with that. It's the sort of thing that really works, and it's worked for many, many years. It's also rarely productive to piss off a regulator. Never motivate them to make your life miserable. It's a natural talent they have. Don't let them demonstrate how amazing they can be at it. Any other subjects we need to go over, folks? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's another good one, smoking. Oh, thank you for letting me know about that. I'm sorry I did that wrong. A polymorph and a good example. Oh, Adam. Let's see. That's one I don't even really. Let's see. I will learn. Morph. Geology. Oh, so basically it has more than one crystalline form. Okay, a lot of minerals are like that. Yep. Calcite. Goethite. Goethite's not a calcite. And of course, goethite can have different stuff. Diamond and graphite. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, Terry, I wish it was that minor nowadays. Let's make elections again, huh?
Good luck with that.
Okay. Any other questions or anything? Oh. Appreciate your well wishes for Eva. She should be, and say, if this is what I think it is, she should be back on her feet in a couple of days, but it can be unpleasant. Tricky Dicky. Polymorph is one of those girls you take home after a heavy night on the vodka and she changes into something else the next morning. All righty. I'm pretty sure that you mean or Lars. Answer yes. Yeah, David, that sounds about right. We call them Californicators around here. Okay, folks. Going twice. Any questions? Anything? If not, I'm gonna call it a night early because I'm still recovering. And I got work to do tomorrow. It's probably going to be dusty at times, but I do have some dust masks now. Thanks, Terry. We'll do our best. You take care, Lars, Goldstream, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you all for the input and stuff. David wants you to get well real soon. Smoking wishes you well. Get well soon, Eva. Bear, get to work. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, everybody. It's fun. And I say, hopefully I'll keep things interesting for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then things will slow down a little bit, but then I'll get into the laboratory experiments and we'll see if we can actually get some buttons of gold there, some little beads and buttons. Thanks for showing up there, Jim. Sorry you couldn't come by, but I think it's a bright idea. And see if you can perforate a damn elk, would you? Yeah, that's an interesting concept. As I'm thinking that we might want to have a multi-element on. I agree. All righty. Well, take care, everybody. So happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. End stream. Yes, end.